Pakistan's economy is at a standstill, and many in the South Asian country are looking hopefully to China for a badly needed economic boost.
VOA Islamabad correspondent Sharon Behn talked with local vendors in Pakistan about what they think their northern neighbor can do to help. I talked with Sharon about this focus on investment and trade. Let's start with part of Sharon's report.
Chinese food is a favorite for Pakistan's middle class, and Chinese goods are flooding the market. Businesswoman Yong Fa represents a group of Chinese manufacturers in Pakistan.
I want to export to Pakistan about electronic items, such as mobile phone, TV, and with a lower price.
China is Pakistan's fifth largest investor, with the US and Britain still in the lead.
Now, the sense in Pakistan is that China is ready to invest in so many of the different sectors in Pakistan and help the country grow. But China is known to have strategic investment taking place, which is, of course, to benefit their own geopolitical interests and agendas. What is your sense? What's going on over there?
I think you're right. I think that China thinks in a very strategic way. They see, Pakistan as having a port down in the south that's very useful for them, for the western side of China. But yeah, I think they think very strategically. They have a partnership that they can develop. They think strategically next door in Afghanistan. They're beginning to, talk to India. So I think China has a very long-term strategic interest in Pakistan. In Pakistan, when you see how the relationship is described, it's sort of a lot of brotherly love, and they're very convinced, or there are people who are very convinced that China is going to come in and just fix all of Pakistan's economic problems, of which there are many.
And what about the local manufacturers or retailers? Are they afraid that there's going to be an explosion of cheap goods and you'll have stores like, for example, Walmart in the US?
There's a kind of a mixed reaction. So in the markets, for example, in the China market, and where you can get all these goods like refrigerators, air conditioners, generators, clothes, toys, and you name it, you can get cheap Chinese good here. So it's very welcome by a lot of people who can't afford it otherwise. There is an economic pinch here. So all of these Chinese goods are things that people can now afford. They can afford it, and they want it, and they buy it. The people selling it, the traders, they're doing really well. They can go up. China's not that far away. They can go up there, they get goods, they bring it down, and they're doing a really good business. But yeah, on the manufacturing side, Pakistan actually manufactures very high quality cotton goods, and they export that to the United States. What's coming in from China is a sort of a lower scale kind of cotton. So it's not really threatening their manufacturing sector right at this moment. I don't think they're competing that much, but it's definitely not helping Pakistan develop its own manufacturing sector. And China is, in all its areas, it is like that for most of this area, most of the region. It can provide goods at an incredibly cheap price. They do have some very strong manufacturing sectors, but they're not developing into new sectors. And they're not being able to pick up on that. They have power cuts all the time. There are energy cuts all the time. So even if you're trying to run a factory, and you have an energy cut, a power cut for 10 hours, you have to rely on alternative fuels. This is going to make things more expensive. So there's more than, it's not just the competition. There's so much within Pakistan itself that needs to get fixed.
VOA correspondent Sharon Behn in Islamabad. Sharon reports the trade imbalance between Pakistan and China remains heavily in China's favor, as Pakistan has few exports. Meanwhile, China's direct investment in Pakistan is still relatively small.